Hello and welcome to another episode of Experts Eating Cake. And today I will be speaking with the fabulous, creative Katie Cope from Keppel Leopard Creative. She's an expert in branding. And what she does is she helps you to shine in comfort and with confidence. So I'm just going to bring her on. Where are you, Katie? Where are you? There she is.
Hello, Michelle. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm so pleased to have you on here. We were just having a little chat behind the scenes about the fact that this whole thing started with you giving me a kick up the bum. I had it in my head.
It really did, but it's because you introduced it and said, I'm thinking of doing something with experts in cake, and I was like, why is this not a thing?
Yeah,
we need to get
and then
this.
you were like, come on, make it a thing. And so I was like, oh, okay, then let's make it a thing. You have several cakes in, and you've managed to get yourself on.
I have.
Where's your cake? Where's your
my
cake?
My cake is here. So my cake
is
a cheesecake. So it's a salted caramel cheesecake. Can you see it?
Oh my God, that looks amazing. Where did you get that from?
So this is from a place called the Cake Kitchen, which is run by a female founder called Felicity, and it's in Uppermill, so up in Saddleworth. So I live in Ashton, so it's a sort of 20 minutes away, and it's really, really lovely shop, really quaint, and salted caramel. She said these things sell like hotcakes, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take one of those. I also got a Malteser Crunch as well. That's in the fridge for later.
The backup cake.
My backup cake is my backup cake. So I heard you on the other ones and said I've got a backup cake, and I was like, we need backup cakes.
We need backup cakes. There's a very specific reason. But what we'll do is we'll put Felicity's details in the description so that anybody have a little munch, show everybody what we want.
Like. So we were already talking. Me and Michelle were already talking, and I said I've already eaten a bit of it.
Oh, how is it?
It's absolutely gorgeous. It's so creamy. Base is so crunchy. That's what I like about cheesecakes. It's really, really lovely. You might not get through anything today because I might just be sitting eating cake.
That's all right. We can do a whole session on eating cake. I have.
Oh, that's
Morrison's Finest.
Oh, Morrison's.
Morrison's Finest. It's even got a little yellow squiggle. Can you see this?
Oh yeah, yeah.
My top.
So very good.
It's a cake, and it is a vanilla slice. It is probably out of date.
It does look good though.
You can't go wrong with a vanilla slice.
You can't. It's like a backup cake. It's like if you don't know what cake to get a vanilla slice. Just start you off with cake. I do like my cake.
Well, one of the hard things is, and the reason why we have a backup cake is when you are getting ready for something epic like this, where you are expected to eat cake on camera, and you buy the cake in advance. That cake sits there in the fridge and it's calling your name. One of the hardest things to do, and I have to do this every week because I'm interviewing every single week.
It does.
Staying away from the cake.
It does, just quietly.
Step away from the cake. But what I do is I get the backup cake so that I don't eat the actual cake, and I just eat the backup cake. And sometimes the backup cake is even better than the actual cake.
Yeah.
Yes. So we finally got you on.
Sometimes it just depends. Yes.
Yeah.
Finally
got you on. There's loads and loads of things that I want to ask you about. But first of all, I want you to tell me the story about your wedding cake. This is rather interesting.
Yeah. So my wedding cake. So me and my husband got married 11 years ago now. So been a while. And we had a wedding cake. We had a wedding cake made for us. And it's the first two tiers were sponge. And then the top tier was fruit cake, because we're pretty traditional. So we thought we would have the fruit cake as the traditional bit. And during the wedding, it wasn't set out properly. So at one point it fell over. So it fell into itself. And so it missed the bottom tier. And I think it was just the bottom tier that got really damaged. And we got told, and it was well, these people coming in, I'm really sorry. This cake is damaged. We don't know what to do. And just both me and my husband went, can you still eat it? And we're like, yes, you can still eat it. We're like, fine, just take it away, chop it up and serve it like that.
Get a bit of custard.
Exactly. Done. It's just if we can still eat the cake is fine. It doesn't matter. So
It's
yes,
nice to know that you didn't stress out over the cake. All the things on the planet that you need to be stressed about, especially on your wedding day, it doesn't need to be the cake.
It's not
That's
the cake.
Brilliant. What an epic cake story. Well, this whole thing, yes, we love a bit of cake. Let me just have a little munch. Lick your fingers. We do love a bit of cake, but you, even though you might think you're an expert in cake, you are also an expert. Right, you correct me if I'm wrong. You're also an expert, a very creative person who works with people on their business and personal branding in such a way that it becomes easy for them. That because a lot of people have an issue with branding and putting themselves out into the world and showing people who they are in a very consistent way. And I think sometimes you need a little bit of a guiding hand to show you that it can be done in a way that's comfortable for you, that allows you to be confident with it. Am I right?
Yes, you are 100% right.
That's
so, and I specialize in female entrepreneurs. So I only work with female founders to do this because this is ultimately, I think, for female founders, we find it really, really hard to do this because if you look at society, ultimately we get told what to do. We get told how to act, how to think, what to say, what to wear, what we should look like. And so when you start a business, then suddenly all the reins are off, really. It's just like you can do whatever you want. And it's that kind of overwhelm of I could do so much, but I'm not really sure what I could do. And is that going to work? And who's going to judge me? All those kind of things. And you just kind of need somebody to sort of go, here you go. This is kind of your line. This is where you align with, and this is where you can stick to. So you've got kind of that pathway so that you know what you're doing and how you promote yourself.
Fabulous, Katie. That sounds amazing. So how do you do this? How do you do this with your clients?
So with my clients, the first thing that I'm looking at is I'm looking at them. So I put them at the heart of their business because ultimately that's how we all started business. I was speaking to somebody the other day and said, I don't think I've ever met an entrepreneur that's just gone, you know what, I'm just going to start this up because I want the money.
And I've met a few people like that. Trust me, they do exist. Yes,
they do exist. I think they're few and far between, though. I definitely think they're few and far between. A lot of the female founders that I meet, quite often they've done it because either the circumstances. So for my circumstance, I was made redundant at 7 months pregnant, which is how I started my business. Other people, it's just because they had to leave work. Other people are like, you know what? I can do this better and I can do it myself. And they kind of start it all up. And so ultimately what I do with them is I bring them back to sort of themselves, because that's where the unique part is. That's what's unique about you. And all these big companies like John Lewis, IKEA, Coca-Cola, Nike, they all started with one person or two people. It started with the founders. And that's what we're getting to, is we're getting to understand who they are, and you're understanding who the client is. And then understanding what values you have, what things do you dislike and like, what's your story, because everybody has a story that they have to tell. Yes. And then what we do from there is we create this massive sort of picture, almost this picture of what this business looks like and how people understand it. And then we use the visuals to communicate that. So that's how we do it.
And you're especially good at the visuals, aren't you? You've got a bit of an eye.
The visuals. Yes, I do love it. And everybody loves the visuals. So I think even when I started my business nearly 5 years ago now, I started with a logo and was just like, yep, I need a logo, I need a website, I need business card, I need all of those things. And it wasn't until later, in which this is the bit that we do in the company, is we do the strategy side of things, which is the really hard nitty gritty brain thing where somebody is standing in front of you and going, why do you have this business? Why are you doing it? And those are hard questions to actually answer, really, when you're sort of going through the motions of business and somebody goes, but why are you doing it? It's like, actually, not really sure. So that's what I do.
The general consensus is not going to be, I'm doing it for the money.
No,
it's a general rule. That's not really an answer that we get a lot of. I mean, I did mention that, I have met people who do it just for the money. And there's absolutely bog all wrong with doing it for the money. But the vast majority of us have a much bigger purpose, a much bigger reason for actually doing it. Do you know what? I bloody love you. How did you get into brand strategy and the design? And tell me exactly what it means to you.
So there's a bit of a massive backstory from this.
Go on, tell us.
I used to work in events. So I used to work for 8 years in events. And then my eldest son was born, and it kind of got to the stage where I was thinking events is probably not the best place for me. Mainly because in event management, lots of it is to do with health and safety. Also, it would be getting to the stage in my career where I'd be going into event management, and it'd be like, if I was on a night shift, then somebody called and said your son's sick, then I've got to choose between an event or my son. And I was like, I don't particularly like that idea.
Yeah.
And also it was missing the creative side. So as I said before, event management is a lot of health and safety. And so there's not a lot of creative stuff that goes on. So I was like, I'm kind of missing the creative side of things. And I'd already kind of looked at kind of graphic design and seen if I wanted to go into graphic design, because I have a degree in animation. So that's my degree, is in animation.
I love it.
So I was like, I kind of like that. And I haven't got a graphic design degree. And I was like, well, if I wanted to go into an agency, you kind of need to have the degree there. You need to have all those things. I don't have that. And so I was like, well, how do I do this with sort of being creative, but not having to do it for clients because my skills are not good enough? And my thoughts went to, well, you know what? In film and TV, they always have to sort of fake stuff. So if you can fake it on TV, then that's absolutely fine. So that's what I went and did. I went and worked.
What though? Fake what?
Graphics. So if you look at everything, so if you look on any kind of like film or TV, all the stuff that they're doing, it's created by somebody. It's created by the art department. So all those paperwork, all the posters, anything that's graphics, they create it. So that's what I went and did for sort of 6 months. I went and worked on a Netflix production called Free Reign, and I worked on the Valentine's Day and the Christmas Day special. So we filmed these in July, which is hilarious because obviously trying to get Christmas stuff in July to set things out. It's like, we need to make Christmas cards. So I went and did that for a bit. And then after that finished, I went back into event management for a little bit. And at that point, I was pregnant with my son. And then at 7 months, I got made redundant. So at that point, I was kind of like, well, if I went and found another job, which mostly it would have been in events because that's where my experience is, probably unlikely that I'm going to get a job there, because nobody's going to hire somebody who's 7 months pregnant, waddling, hasn't seen her feet for a few months. It's not going to happen. The other idea that I had was maybe I'll just kind of like curl up in a ball and just let it all blow over until we can deal with it.
It all felt like that at one point.
I think at one point everybody's got to go, yeah, I just want to pull the covers up and I'm not dealing with this. And then the final option was, well, you could start a business and see where it goes. And that is literally how it started. So I was made redundant on the Monday. By the Friday, I'd kind of set up a business that was doing graphic design for small businesses. And that's how exactly. That is literally how quick it went. There's no plan. It was like literally we're going for it.
Well, you were going against the clock a little bit at this time.
A little bit. I was like, I don't have time to kind of waste around and do stuff. So on the Friday, I started offering graphic design to small businesses. And what I was finding as I was working with small businesses was quite often what they were saying is that I need a logo, I need a website and things, which are all things that I could do. But then they were going, but it's not enough because I need something else. I need to be more visible and I need to have that kind of authenticity. And that's when I started going down well, what is it? Because it's like, well, these big businesses that you see, multi-millions, it's just like they could not have got to where they are on graphics alone. That's not the thing. And that's when I went into the massive rabbit hole, which is called branding, and realized that actually there's a lot more behind all of those graphics. There's lots more by it. And it was actually really, really interesting to me. It's like how you can basically, you're talking to people and understanding your business so much that you can kind of connect with them really, 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 really well. And that's what I really loved. I really loved seeing in brands how they connect with people, and it's like, how do I get to that person, and doing that kind of problem solving with it. And so that's how I went into branding.
Fabulous. So that's your area of expertise. That is the thing, that's your bread and butter. That's the thing that you absolutely love to do. That's the thing that you've built your family and your dreams and everything on. So you are a bona fide expert. We can see that. We know what's going on here, but we're not experts in branding. We know a little bit about ourselves. Most of us don't even know anything about ourselves until somebody asks us silly questions, start poking at us. Like, oh, I didn't think of that. But we're the average Joe. Yeah, we're the average small business owner. If we needed to know some stuff about branding to get us start asking ourselves the right kind of questions so that we can move forward and make sure that we can actually put that message out there about who we are and how we help people and how we change the world and change lives and things. What are the little things? Let's say the 3 most basic things that we have to take on board when we start to think about branding.
Easy. So first thing that you need to think of, always start with your strategy. Always, always, always. It's the hardest part, but it counts for 86% of your overall brand. It's only
That's a very specific number.
It's a really specific number. It's really specific, but it's because it's like the design side of things only counts for like 14-15% of your actual entire brand. So always start with your strategy. And the main reason for that is that it makes everything 10 times easier when you've got to go into all the design sides. So if you're getting to the stage where it's like, I have created my logo 72 times and I don't know why it keeps on getting evolved, it's because that strategy is not there. So first and foremost, always start with your strategy. Always, always, always. Second thing that I would do, and everybody really hates it when I say it, is you have to niche. Everybody hates when I say you have to niche because they don't like it. And the reason for it is because logically, it just doesn't make sense. You're going, hang on a minute, I'm looking at all these people and you're telling me to focus on these ones. How is that going to grow my business? And how I explain it to my clients is what you're doing is you're not cutting anybody out. That's not what you're doing when you're niching down in your audience. What you're doing is you're focusing on the people who are going to benefit the most from your business. And those are the people that you want. You don't want to be trying to work with somebody and sort of trying to nurture them for a couple of months and then them going, it's not really for me. What you want is the people there that are going, yes, I really want this, and nodding away at you to say, yes, definitely, I do want this. So 100% you need to niche. As much as you might not like it and it feels a bit icky, you do need to niche, unless of course you've got multi-million.
I was going to say with niching as well, a lot of it is about finding your kind of people that you actually enjoy working with. Because it's a two-way process, isn't it? You're working with them, but they're also working with you. And I think that kind of relationship is quite an important one. So finding people who match up with who you are, what you do, and essentially what your brand is all about is going to have the best, create the best relationships.
Yes, definitely, 100%. And you will see as you if you are just starting business, or even if you're further on, you'll notice that you're gravitating towards people, the same type of people, because those are the people that you really like to work with. And so that's a really easy way of kind of niching down your audience, is going, who do I really like working with? Well, them. So I'll work with them. But unless you've got multi millions to spend on marketing campaigns or anything, you can't, you have to niche as a small business. It just doesn't work. And then the final thing that I would say to people that are just starting out and just kind of learning about branding is you don't actually need a logo, which is like a massive thing that people, and as I said before, that's the first thing that I thought of when I started my business, is like, I need a logo. But actually you don't need it, because ultimately it's the strategy and it's the things behind it and your story and how you talk to people and how you take people through the journey of your services and your products and things. That's the brand there. The logo is just there as a representation, so that if somebody sees it, they go, oh yeah, I know who that is. It's the same as when you see Coca-Cola's, you know exactly who Coca-Cola is. When you see the tick for Nike, you go, oh yeah, I know what it is. But
when you see the pineapple,
when you got a pineapple, exactly. When you have pineapple, everybody knows exactly. It was just like this Michelle, she's got pineapple on her head. So, and this is the thing, is that the logo doesn't really do anything. You need to have that brand behind it. So really work on that nitty gritty. Who am I? What is this sort of thing first, before you sort of spend that time in Canva or wherever you're creating this logo that potentially it might not represent your business properly. So so those would be probably my 3.
It's a really interesting way of looking at it, and a really interesting way of flipping things around so that you actually start with something completely different and it takes you further along that road, instead of I've just done a logo, now what? It's like, what is your story? Who are you? What do you bring to the table? How do you help people? Why do you help people? And I think when you're answering those questions, it literally has nothing to do with a logo. Effectively, you can answer those questions. I think when you do create a logo, you've got a better idea of, getting the right kind of fit in terms of something that has longevity. Because if you're creating a logo, the whole point of it is it's going to be instantly recognizable. It's going to say something. And ultimately, if you get it right the first time, and this is coming from somebody who has had several logos along the way, if you get it right the first time, and it's telling the story, you could physically get on, on a podcast or something and tell people a story about that. And it'll always be the same story because it comes back to who you are and where you're from and what you do and why you do it. And that never really changes because that's linked to purpose. Yeah, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. I absolutely love it. Well, you mentioned that was one common misconception. What I was going to do was ask you about the misconceptions that you found along the way that people actually have, and the reason that they are perceived that way, and what the truth actually is. So, tell me a little bit about the common misconceptions that you found along the way.
First common misconception is actually branding is part of marketing. So it actually comes under, it doesn't have its own industry, as much as I'm pretty sure that all brand strategists and designers would be like, hey, I want my own industry. We don't. We come under marketing because it's at the core of your marketing. So if you're finding it difficult to post on social media and you don't know what to say or anything, it's because it has to come back down to the brand, and the brand dictates what you're doing with your marketing. So I think that was the first kind of common misconception, that people don't realize that actually branding is all part of that marketing campaign and all part of that marketing strategy. You've got to include it in all of that. Another thing that was a common misconception that I found was, and I say this to my clients all the time, is that competitors don't exist. So we have this thing.
I'm so glad you said that, Katie. I'm so glad you said that, because that is the thing that is in my head when somebody mentions competitors. Come on, explain more.
So how you look at a competition. So I used to do a lot of athletics when I was much younger. So in a competition, I used to do 100 meters, is that you all start from the same point and you're trying to reach the same end goal. And then you're running as fast as you can. You're staying in your lane, but going as fast as you can. When you're in business, that is not the case. Everybody starts from different points, different spaces, all sorts of things, and we all have different goals. So we all have different ways. We're not getting to the same end point, and we all have different pathways. That pathway is not straight. Sometimes it's all over the place. Sometimes it's a lovely roller coaster ride. Sometimes when you're in a startup, and the thing is that when you're trying to compete against other people, it's not a fair competition, because everybody's different. Everybody's got different places where they're starting. So it's not competitors. How I explain it to my clients and how I explain it to people is ultimately who your competition are just people that have found their own space and they are owning that space. That is all they're doing. And at the end of the day, there is a space for you. There's nothing like there's competition, so then I don't have any room or anything. There is space for you. 100% there is. But all we need to do is find that space for you, and we'll be able to find it. So 100%, I don't believe in competition.
How much of a relief is that to somebody who feels like the world is out to get them and crush them and, stop them from creating their business? There's literally nothing stopping you. Not the next door neighbor, not the person on Instagram, not the person who's the expert in your given field, not the person who's turned around and said the exact same things that you're talking about. None of them are there to crush you. Even if they're trying to, they never blink in well, because they are not you. And ultimately, carving that space. I love the way that you put it. It's like carving that space, that U-shaped hole, so that you can stand in the world and be who you are and give the world what it needs. Oh, I'm getting all chills. Is a really key element of branding. And I am so glad that you said that, because it's something that goes around in my mind quite a lot. Sometimes I don't open my mouth and say it because I'm not as eloquent as you are.
Yeah.
Right, so I've got another question for you.
Go for it.
Right. So in all the time that you've been building your business, okay, what are some of the things that have really surprised you that you found out?
Some of the things that have surprised me is definitely one of the main reasons why I work with female founders. So when I was kind of starting my business, I read the Rose Review, which is a big review about female entrepreneurship, and it's a UK-wide thing. And the biggest takeaway that it came from, and the biggest thing that it was highlighting, was that female-led businesses, only 1% of them are successful getting external funding, which is like, that's insane. That's really, really insane. And the main reason for that is because there are no females on those panels that decide on these businesses. And this was one of the big... Exactly.
Holding us down.
Exactly.
Patriarchy. No.
No. So when you look at all these businesses, is female founders and female businesses are a huge variety of different businesses. You've got like holistic therapists, you've got branders, you've got marketeers, you've got accountants, so varied. And trying to explain that to an investor who's looking at it and going, well, am I going to get my money back? And most often, female founders that I work with, they're the same as you, Michelle. They're passion led. So the first and foremost thing that's driving them is, I want to see my clients succeed, not I would like to make you money. So and it's one of those things where it's like the investors are ultimately looking, going, well, how am I going to make my money back if you're just going to be focusing on people and going, oh, well, it worked. And that was one of the biggest reasons. And then I also listened to a podcast by Mary Portas, who I love. Mary Portas, she's amazing, and she had Trini Woodall on there. So if you're old enough, who knew...
I'm old enough.
Yeah, I'm old enough as well to know that. Oh, no. So she used to do like what not to wear, and she's just started like this makeup range that she sells in different places. And on this podcast, she was actually saying she had to learn how to speak to investors because they would not understand from her point of view of what she wanted to do, which was very passion-led, as she wanted women in sort of like the early 40s, 50s to feel really good, to have makeup, but have that kind of really easy way of applying makeup. They didn't have like a massive makeup bag and things. Investors wouldn't understand that. She had to go from it from a different perspective, and she had to learn how to speak investors. And I was like, well, for me, I don't like that idea, because this is where female founders kind of flounder a bit, because they're having to put something on and they're having to put themselves there. So I wanted it to be that they were very natural and confident about the way that they spoke about their business, to the point where they would be able to be on those funding panels. That was the biggest thing. It's just that you would be there and you would be representing female voices and going, I get this business. I understand this business. I understand why they're going it this way. And I understand the kind of investment that they require. So that was the biggest reason why I sort of started this, and why I focused on female founders. So
wow, that is amazing. I love that you've taken something like that that's actually quite important, but just it just doesn't see the light of day. I mean, you saying it even surprises me, but it totally makes sense, because a lot of what we're doing is based around trust, and it's really hard to measure trust in money. You know what I mean? So when you're asking somebody to measure trust in money, it's like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? Because it's about trust and not about money.
Exactly. And one of the things that was also in the Rose Review is it did actually say that if female-led businesses got the same funding as our male counterparts, we would be able to add 250 billion into the UK economy, just investing alone. If we were given the balance, the equity, and the equality that we had, that's how much we could add to the UK economy. And I'm pretty sure, just looking at the economy, we need that. That would be all right.
Sounds like you're getting yourself into putting your fingers in some world-changing pies here.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think it's absolutely fantastic that there's so much more underneath what you're trying to create in your business, and the fact that it's not just about people going out there comfortably and confidently. God, I can't get my words out today. I think it's all the cake I've been eating.
Yeah.
It's also about allowing women to hold their space in the world, not just in their business, but also in their world, and put themselves out there. I think it's a tremendous thing that you're doing. What I'd like to know is you have a membership, a place where such female founders actually come and put the world to rights and take their space and make things happen. And it's called the Green Room.
It is called the Green Room. Yeah, it's called the Green Room.
Tell us a little bit more about the Green Room.
So the reason why it's called the Green Room is that ultimately, from a film and TV background, if you have ever been on any kind of interviews or anything, you go into a green room, and it is basically the space where you're away from everybody else and you get to practice and you get to make sure that you are ready to go and step in that spotlight, which is why the Green Room is called the Green Room. It is ultimately a space for female founders. Instead of them having to kind of put themselves out on social media and go, oh, that didn't go very well, or not do it at all because I don't want to feel that kind of self-conscious or anything, they can go into the Green Room. There are a myriad of different people in there. There are so many different businesses. It's amazing. We've got ADHD coaches in there. We've got business coaches. We've got accountants in there. Got jewelers in there. Pet people in there as well. And it is literally like this really lovely community. We come together twice a month to have like a meetup, and we have a chat and we talk about all the different things that we sort of have challenges and things on, and we go through that. We also do workshops as well. So we do a 1 a month workshop, which is usually about branding. So it's learning about branding, how you create your own branding, how you do it, as well as also I'm around all the time anyway in that Green Room anyway. So then you can just ask me questions about branding and things. So that is ultimately what the Green Room is for. And it is basically so that it's a safe space for you to learn about who you are and your branding. Because I've done it where I will admit that I have rebranded 3 times in the 5 years that I've been in business.
Sometimes you just have to.
Sometimes you've got to. You say, oh, you know what? I need to do it. But some people find that really hard and go, oh, I'm changing things and our people are going to judge me for changing stuff. So it's a really safe space where they can go and say, like, I have this issue, I have this problem, or do you think I should do it this way? And they get this massive amount of support. So some of these people have just started their business. Other females have been in business for 10, 15 years, and they've got this massive amount of experience there that they can bring to it. So it's a really, really lovely group. Absolutely lovely. So, yeah.
Sounds brilliant. Sounds brilliant. And I think it's holding that space. It's having people who've got your backs, you know, and people who are in the same position as you, people who have lots of great ideas, because it's not you know, it's not just your average Joe that's joining the membership.
No.
It is female founders who want to make a difference in the world, people with a lot of heart and a lot of passion, a lot of knowledge and a lot of expertise that bring a lot to the table. And imagine sitting at the table with such powerful women, being able to be open and honest enough about the challenges that you faced and have them grab hold of you and support you all the way, making sure that that's not the thing that hinders you. I think when you start to look at it in terms of that, it's not just the Green Room, it's not just a membership, it's not just, you know, this place that you go to twice a month. It's something that can have an impact on the whole of your life, and not just on your life, but when you go out into the world and you put your best self forward as the person that you are and what you bring to the world. It's doing the thing that I'm always encouraging people to do, is lift the mood of the planet. It's make things better for everybody else, and help people who are doing that as well. And I think it's a great way of looking at it. And you know, in as much as we're laughing about smashing the patriarchy and stuff, I don't normally talk about stuff like that. It doesn't even normally enter into my head. But Steve and I got a little bit huffy with that. I think there is a valid point behind that, where, you know, there is a lot of worth that is being left untapped. And I think it's about blooming time that we started tapping that worth and making sure that the women that are out there that have got so much to bring to the table get the opportunity to do so. Because quite often, you know, it is down to funding, it is down to support, you know, or lack thereof. And that doesn't need to be the case. And things are changing, and you're part of that change.
Yeah, amazing.
How do people join the Green Room if they're so fired up into becoming part of this membership and getting stuck in there and bringing their best selves?
Yeah, so if they want to join the Green Room, they can go to my website, which is Keppel Leopard. So Michelle's going to do the links and everything for it, because it's a very long name. And you go to the Green Room community and you just basically sign up. It does actually, everybody as standard has 90 days to experience it completely free. And it is not one of these places where things are cut off from you. You can go to all the meetups, you can go to all the workshops, you can go to you can watch all the replays. And even after that, because I understand it's a community at the end of the day, and if you don't feel that it's the right community for you, or ultimately there's so much stuff that's happening in your life and it's like I can't focus on it, then that's fine. All that happens is that 90 days expires. So you have 90 days to try it out, and then afterwards it's 10 quid a month, and that's it.
What a fabulous opportunity. What an absolutely fabulous opportunity. And you know, the purpose is a lot bigger than us as individuals. And I think sometimes just creating that community so that it can actually get established and do amazing things is a really, really great way of doing things. Thank you so much, Katie. I have got one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
I know you are all about the fun.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you do some pretty weird stuff. But you've got to tell me about this horse belt.
Oh, yes. So when I was working on film and TV, I got so I worked as an art department assistant, and art department assistant, it's between graphics and also you're physically making things. So I know how to sew and knit and all these kind of things. And on the Valentine's Day special, basically this horse, he's gorgeous. This horse is absolutely gorgeous. He had to have a Valentine's Day balloon tied to him for the shoot. Except he's never been used to like balloons and things, and you've got to get the horses used to these kind of things, because otherwise they're literally going to run. So the question that I got asked was, can you please make a belt for a horse in 2 hours so that this horse can then practice with this balloon? Yeah, so it was just like one big massive line of fabric and just sewed it together, and then had to get it over to the stables for them to then tie it on with a balloon, so then this horse could get used to the balloon. 2 hours.
Oh. And you did that for work. You created a horse belt to tie a balloon to a horse for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Craziness.
But yeah, that's film and TV for you.
I bet you've got 1,000,001 stories that you could talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Have you still got any of your cake left?
I do. I have like a load of my cake left, which I'm just slowly. I also see. Nah. Are we just finished your cake?
There's still 2 bites left.
Okay.
I might leave it for later.
Yeah.
With a break. I don't want to get sick off cake.
No.
Although, you think that by now I would have gone right off cake.
Oh no, you can never go off cake.
No. Well, there was that time that I did the mukbang when I did it for the first year anniversary, birthday of the Happy Business Express. The cake was a giant 40-person cake. Yeah. And I was like, really? But I did manage to eat like a third of it. I worked out there was something like 3,000 calories. Effectively, that's the only thing that I ate all that day. And I thought, if I eat any more of this, I'll probably be really sick of cake and I won't eat any more cake ever again. No. The next day, I had another bit of that cake. And eventually, throughout the week, that cake actually
disappeared. Yeah, well, you need to eat the cake, because otherwise it's just wasting cake, and you can't waste cake. You just
can't waste cake, right? Thank you so much, Katie. It was an absolute pleasure having you on here, and hopefully I'll get to see you again very, very soon, and maybe at a networking meeting. It'd be lovely to see you and give you a big squish and eat some more cake and talk. Changing the world, I think. That's what we're going to talk about next time. Thank you so much for coming on.
No problem.
Bye. That was the amazing Katie Cope. And, you know, that woman surprises me. That woman really surprises me. She's there in the background helping lots of people. When she comes and she tells you exactly what's going on and exactly how she's helping, it blew my mind. Anyway, just to let you know that we have a community as well at the Happy Business Club. It's not just the Happy Business Club. We also have the Happy Business Express. Have you ever seen it? Have you subscribed to it? It's a magazine for heart-led small business owners. Absolutely free to subscribe. And if you want to write for me, or want to write for the Happy Business Express, you're very welcome to do that as well. We have lots of themes around happy businesses, and we show the business owner behind the business. So if you're a business owner, you're heart-led, you want to put your story out into the world and let people know who you really are so that they can come and connect with you as a person, hit me up. There's a link down below. Get on my writers list and get scribbling for our magazine. And hopefully we will see your lovely face in there very soon. See you later.